Today, we have the privilege of hearing from distinguished speakers who will provide valuable insights into the challenges and opportunities ahead. We will reflect on our community's accomplishments, acknowledge the work that remains, and discuss how we can move forward together. Our strength lies not in the efforts of a few, but in the collective contributions of many. It is the partnerships between businesses, organizations, and individuals that fuel our progress and make Culpeper a place that we're proud to call home. A heartfelt thank you to our sponsors, Culpeper Media Network, UVA Health Culpeper Medical Center, Bingham and Taylor, Dominion Energy, and I&L DJing and Productions for their generous support in making this event happen. I also want to extend our sincere appreciation to our presenters, our panelists, and our moderators. Your time, expertise, and dedication to our community do not go unnoticed, and we are truly grateful. And finally, to each of you in the audience, thank you. Your commitment to Culpeper's growth and prosperity is what make events like this meaningful. As we begin today's presentations, it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Andrew Hopewell. Andrew is the Director of Planning and Community Development for the town of Culpeper. He has traditionally focused on long-range and comprehensive planning, including capital, fiscal, and economic impact analysis, demographic studies, as well as community visioning and plan development. Previously, he had similar focus while working in Fauquier and Spotsylvania counties. He's a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners and currently serves as the American Planning Association's Virginia chapter president. Here to talk to us more about the town of Culpeper zoning regulations and their current comprehensive overhaul of the existing zoning and subdivision ordinances, Andrew Hopewell.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank the Chamber for giving me the opportunity to speak and share a little bit about what's going on in the town. As Amy mentioned, we are in the process of doing a comprehensive overhaul of our zoning and subdivision ordinance. We had our first public hearing before the Planning Commission last night, so we're in the thick of receiving public feedback, public input on it. And so I wanted to share this with all of you, again, because this will impact every parcel in the town and has some significant ramifications. We think we're taking a step in the right direction, but we want to make sure that what we're doing is reflective of the community's vision for where it wants to go in the future. And so making sure that we have that feedback back and input from the community is essential. So why are we doing this update right now? Well, essentially our existing regulations, some of them date back to the late 1960s when our first zoning ordinance was adopted. We haven't done a comprehensive overhaul of our ordinance since that time, and so this is a chance to really make sure that we have one coherent and cohesive set of rules and regulations for land development within the town. We've seen some frustration from users about some of the outdated regulations that we have. We've seen changes over time to state regulations, federal regulations that we want to make sure that we're in alignment with. And really what we're looking to do as well as we move into more and more into the 21st century here is give some flexibility to allow for common sense approaches to changing trends and changing patterns. And so the update is looking to build that in as well. Part of what we're looking to do, especially in the downtown and in our commercial areas, is move to what's called a form-based code. This is a way well, actually, I'll touch on that in a second. For our residential development, we're keeping that in much the same manner that we have currently, but for our non-residential development, it's going to form-based. And let me take a moment just to explain the differences. So our conventional zoning is the use of the property is the organizing structure for it. So essentially, the code focuses heavily on what it is you're proposing to do with the property, not so much what it looks like or how it feels. So the language of that is typically text heavy. There's limited illustrations, limited graphics. There's no guidance on the form outside of really the bulk regulations, so how tall it can be and what the lot size is and what have you. So in terms of a graphic form, it looks like this with the primary concern is that use, there's the management component, and then the form is an afterthought. With the form-based code and the form-based zoning, the form is the driving force within it and the regulating force, and the use is much more of an afterthought. So in the form-based zoning, you're looking much more at the physical form or the building type that's there, what it looks like, what it feels like. It contains significant illustrations to convey the principles that are being conveyed or regulated there. But I want to be clear that these are still objective regulations. It's not subjective. It's not something along the lines of an architectural review board, which we have as well. But the form-based code itself are objective. It's not a subjective, discretionary decision in terms of what something looks like. So as mentioned, this is an overhaul to the entire zoning ordinance, so it affects every parcel in town. We have a whole new proposed zoning map that you can see on the left there. And in terms of what the differences are from our current code, it's the introduction of these building types, as I mentioned. So every property in town that's non-residential will essentially be assessed and be determined to be a particular building type with regulations that are specific to that building type. It includes the regulations as to what uses are appropriate. In some instances, certain uses, particularly residential, would only be appropriate on upper stories of buildings where we're looking to encourage mixed-use development. We're looking at things like facade materials, essentially what is being used to build these buildings, so that an impact on what they're going to look like, differences identifying major and minor facades, accent materials. Again, wanting to be sure that we're preserving the character that we have, particularly in our downtown area. As we said, we've got, this is an illustration of the table for the facade materials. We've looked to take pictures of examples from around town to make sure that they are local specific, to give context for it. Other things that we're doing in this particular update, as I said, this is our first significant update since 1968. So it's taking advantage of things like simplifications of our parking tables. Presently, we have 104 different possible uses associated with parking standards. This simplifies it down to that one table on the right-hand side. In a similar manner, looking at the number of uses that we have defined within our zoning ordinance as potential ones. Again, we've got all of those uses on that table on the left-hand side. It includes things like taxidermist, things like apothecary, cabinet maker, things that are not really necessary to be standalone defined uses in the 21st century. And so on the right-hand side, you can see they're much broader categories, allowing similar uses to be grouped more easily based on performance standards, so that what their impacts are going to be on adjoining parcels. What this leads to as well is some increased permissiveness of uses, particularly within the commercial zoning district. So things that are specifically called out now and maybe restricted to other areas, there's now an increased flexibility in terms of where they're located. So items that I've identified in the past are things like tattoo parlors. Currently, those are specifically called out and only allowed within the industrial districts. Those are moving to more of a personal services type category, which is allowed in more of our commercial districts in a similar manner to a hairdresser or something along those lines. Other things that are identified here, though, are things like artisan manufacturing. So essentially art studios or things like that. Well, artisan manufacturing currently would only be allowed within our manufacturing districts, which seems a little overly restrictive. This would allow greater latitude for them to be located in some of our commercial or mixed-use zonings, places on Davis Street and items like that. One of the other changes that we're doing is redefining our home occupation permits. Currently, there's a one-size-fits-all home occupation permit for what folks are able to do within their residential dwellings. We're proposing to expand that into essentially two different categories. The home office, which would be allowed by right as we've gone into the 21st century and have increased telecommuting, folks working from home in terms of their office spaces. It doesn't seem appropriate to have restrictions on that anymore. So these would be allowed by right. They're having no impact on the neighborhood community or the character there. But we also are expanding now to have these home-based businesses, and these would allow occupations to be operated out of the home that have very limited or no impact on the adjoining properties. Presently, our code does not allow any business to operate out of the home that would increase traffic to the home. So really, that precludes anything that would have people coming to the house. So things like music tutors or math tutors, things like that are common sense approaches to allow people to go. This would allow them, under this new proposal, to have those at the home. You would not be allowed to have anything that had walk-up retail sales or anything like that would sort of be far more commercial in nature and impact the neighborhood. But items that really are beneficial to the community and without hurting that residential character would be allowed under this new proposal. One of the other changes, as I said, with the form-based is providing standards for the location of drive-through facilities and fuel pumps, looking to have those on the rear of buildings. We're providing more specific guidance on food trucks and donation receptacles, where those are located, what the standards associated with those are. There's some enhanced language related to A-frame signs, providing clear guidance on those, where they can be located. We've seen at times proliferations of those within the downtown area, and so this really limits them to being in the immediate vicinity of the businesses, so they can't be located several blocks away from where that business is located. One of the other things, again, as I mentioned, we've tried to enhance this with more graphics, more easy ways to digest the information. So for our sign regulations, we put images in there that show exactly how they're calculated, just trying to make sure that there's a common understanding for these when we're working with sign makers. We've also moved to increase the permissiveness of administrative modifications that can be given. This is something that Culpeper County already does, state code permits it, and so we're looking to do that as well, where the zoning administrator has the authority, where it fits with the character of the community, to provide some exemptions and some relief from some of the bulk standards. They have to notify the adjoining property owners. Assuming there are no objections, it's able to be administratively approved. If there are objections from those neighboring properties, it would have to go back through a conditional use permit. So it could still be approved, but it would have to go through a public hearing process before both the Planning Commission and Town Council. So as I said, we're very much in that stage of collecting public input and public feedback on this. Some key upcoming dates that we have is a work session with our Planning Commission next week. We've got another public hearing with the Planning Commission in April, meeting with the Council's 3P committee, actually both next week, and then in April and May, Council public hearings in May and June. We've also got set up weekly drop-ins, open house drop-ins at the Towns and Counties Economic Development Center, where town staff will be on hand to talk with individuals about their specific properties, what the implications will be for the code update on them, as well as take feedback and input from them about possible recommended changes. So it's one where really we want to hear from the community, when we want to be able to incorporate that feedback to make sure that this plan truly is reflective of the community's desire. So we have on the department's website, on the town website, there's a hub site that has a lot of this information contained there. It's got the ability to zoom in on specific parcels to see both the existing zoning and the proposed zoning, tables that talk broadly about what the changes are. It's got the full text of the draft ordinance. But we encourage everyone to take a look. If you've got questions, please reach out to me. Happy to answer those questions. If we've got a couple minutes now, I'm happy to take questions now if there are any. But otherwise, again, I know it's a great deal of information in a very short period of time, but we really do want to hear from the community about this because, again, we think this is a great step forward for the town. We think it's a great opportunity for economic development in the town with this increased flexibility. And so we do have time? That's great. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take any questions anyone might have. As I said, we had our first public hearing last night, so there were certainly some questions that were raised at the Planning Commission last night. But any questions from anyone in the audience about it at the moment? Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to get too technical, but what about chickens?
So the town a couple years ago adopted an ordinance related to the keeping of fowl, including chickens in town, and this ordinance carries over that language. So there are limitations as far as the number. There are requirements for the amount of space that they have and the coop space that they have, and that's all retained within this update. Yes.
Do you feel that the definitions of more of your mixed use and your neighborhood areas will allow for redevelopment of the residential areas into increased density?
There is the potential for that. It's a situation where we know that there are certainly growth demands within this area. The town is getting very close to being built out within its existing footprint, its existing boundary, and so there's going to need to be ways to look to accommodate that growth. This does allow for potential increased density from a multifamily perspective. Town Council very clearly weighed in that they didn't want to see any increased density for our single-family development, so our minimum lot sizes for the residential zones have remained the same. as far as 10,000 square foot is the minimum size, 80 foot of lot frontage. But part of the principles of the form-based code are that trade-off for the greater flexibility in terms of the internal uses. So if they're meeting those standards from a design perspective on the outside, this does allow for some greater flexibility in terms of the number of units that could be developed on the inside. Now, that being said, they still have to meet the site, the physical site constraints on the site. So things like parking, open space, screening would all need to be met, which likely are going to serve as the limiting factors and not really enable them to see a whole lot more density than what they'd currently be able to realize. Well, great. Oh, yes, sir.
How has the impact of data centers on agriculture changed?
So it's a good question, and one of the things that this does is very specifically call out data centers within a new category that we have called high impact industries. And so those are proposed to only be allowed within our industrial zone districts here, and those are only permitted with a conditional use permit. So what that allows the town to do is look at these high impact industries on a case-by-case basis. And because it's a conditional use permit, it gives the town itself the ability to set the terms and conditions by which it would approve those if appropriate. Right now, where it's a rezoning process, there's a lot more power in the hands of the applicant to submit proffers that it's their determination as to what they're willing to submit. Again, the governing body, town council, has the ability to approve or disapprove those depending on whether they feel it's appropriate, but we can't dictate the terms of those proffers, so to speak. With a conditional use permit, it gives the town a great deal more ability to set specific terms on a case-by-case basis to ensure that it's an appropriate location and that all possible mitigations of adverse impacts are being addressed. Well, great. Well, again, I'm very grateful, appreciative of the opportunity to speak with you today. If you do have further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email address is there. It's available through the town website as well. We do certainly want to hear from the community, both in favor and in opposition, because we want to make this the strongest possible document we can. So thank you very much.
As we continue today's discussions, it's essential that we highlight one of Culpeper's most vital industries, agriculture. Agriculture is not just a part of our history, it remains a driving force behind our local economy, sustaining families, businesses, and traditions that have shaped our community for generations. We're fortunate to have a distinguished panel of experts joining us today, each representing organizations that play a critical role in supporting and advancing agriculture in our region. Today, our panelists will share insights into the challenges and opportunities facing our farming community, the innovations shaping the industry, and how we can continue to support those who feed and fuel our region. I'd like to invite our panelists to come forward and take a seat at the table as I introduce our panel moderator, Nicole Wooten. Nicole Wooten is a media professional with a background in broadcasting and community engagement. A 2019 UVA graduate, she interned at the NPR affiliate radio station WNRN before taking on roles in the traffic department. She later spent nearly 5 years as technical director at Culpeper Media Network before returning to WNRN in 2024 as client services and traffic coordinator and a Sunday night radio host. Active in the Culpeper community, Nicole serves on the Culpeper Chamber of Commerce board as the Young Professionals Liaison and the 2025 Chair-elect and the President of the Friends of the Culpeper Library. Please join us in welcoming Nicole and our agriculture panel.
Thank you to Andrew for a wonderful presentation. I wanted to take a moment to introduce our panelists. We're going to start right over here with Mr. Unger. Kenny Unger grew up on a small cattle and sheep farm in Winchester, Virginia, and went on to earn a degree in animal science from Virginia Tech. He began his career in banking, working within the Farm Credit System and Community Bank before transitioning to the private sector in 2004. That year, he purchased an agricultural retail store, later expanding with a second location in 2020. Last year, he sold both locations to CFC and now serves as the general manager. And moving on to Mr. Stafford. Carl Stafford is a senior extension agent with Virginia Cooperative Extension, serving the agricultural community with expertise in livestock management, forage systems, and farm business planning. With decades of experience, he provides research-based guidance to farmers and agribusinesses, helping them navigate industry challenges and implement best practices. Carl is dedicated to supporting the growth and sustainability of agriculture in Culpeper through education, outreach, and innovative solutions. We'll move on to Miss Becky Ramsey, who's next to him. Becky Ramsey is the branch manager of Culpeper and Warrington branches of Farm Credit of the Virginias. She and her team specialize in rural and farm lending, offering financing for agricultural real estate, rural homes and construction, livestock, equipment, and operating funds. Becky and her family live on a small farm in Culpeper, raising red Angus cattle and sheep. And finally, Miss Susan Giugino. Susan is a farmer, raising commercial turkeys and beef cattle with her husband, Rocky, and her daughter, Reagan. Susan worked as a federal contractor for 13 years before moving to a position at Swift. She enjoys working on the farm, quilting, and helping in the community. She is currently serving as Culpeper Farm Bureau board member. She volunteers with Culpeper Madison Rappahannock's CMR Farm Show and supports local nonprofit organizations with her involvement with the Culpeper Quilters Guild and Culpeper Businesswomen. Thank you all for joining us today. We're going to start off with the first question for our panelists. What are some of the biggest challenges farmers and agricultural businesses are currently facing in Culpeper? And how does your organization support them in navigating those challenges? We'll start with Mr. Unger.
Okay. Some of the challenges that we see obviously is land prices, the development that has come in, the influx of houses has drastically increased the value of farmland around here. So that's the profit margin in farming is pretty slim these days compared to some other businesses. So when those prices get driven up, there's much less profit for ours. So that increase in rent for the investor who has bought that property, and obviously the cost of inputs are concerned today in the world of agriculture. Tariffs, cost of equipment, technology. Culpeper's a good area of grain commodity. We've seen some lower grain prices over the last several years. And then we've had a drought around in this area for the last 2 years.
Thank you so much. Mr. Stafford.
I'd say profitability is one subject that we can kind of hang our hat on now. It comes and goes, Dave Durr. The solution for high prices is high prices, so farmers are notorious for increasing production. Because of low prices in dairy means more milk got to be sold to meet the bottom line, but that has a negative effect when more milk's on the market, drives prices back down. So they're on a treadmill sometimes, and they're cautious, but they're cautious about things they know, and the unknown makes them really cautious. They're risk takers, but they know what the risks are going in. That has changed now, so they don't know all the risks they face, so they're probably more cautious. So it's nice to be in beef production. If you like steak, you're paying more for it. But it's still, I pay $2 a pound more for the big loins that I buy at a bulk store. But I didn't hesitate because I knew it was still a good deal, and it was all steak. So great local meat, and got a freezer full of it, Sheriff, but it's not all steak, and I'm enjoying what short ribs are and other things, so you get creative. So there are challenges. I'd say that the highway is as big a challenge for all of us, including the farmers. They do things at midnight because of the road. They withstand the rude gestures and the tailgating, and I don't know what else they get done to them, but why in the world are you on my road? These drivers. So their land value is a plus and a minus. They makes them think about, do they want to keep it, Becky? And I'm 67 or whatever, and I'm getting tired, and my children are not interested. Winona, so they face challenges that can make their business a challenge. So good enough.
Thank you, Mr. Stafford. Ms. Ramsey.
I think that Kenny and Carl both hit on two of the biggest that I see as well. One being land acquisition and the need to grow their operations to be able to stay in business. And the second being shrinking margins and it just being increasingly difficult to be able to stay in business and have the operating funds that they need to be able to do that. Farm Credit does try really hard to work with those farmers and make sure that we do have, they have the operating funds to stay in business. But if you look at agriculture, farmers may be the only business where they are price takers on both sides of their equation, to where they are spending everything at retail, but they also don't have any decision on the prices that they get for their commodities when they're ready to sell them. And so that becomes a challenge when they're trying to figure out, and I think direct marketing kind of comes into play with that in other questions that we have.
All right, Ms. Eugenio.
Yes, agree with the lack of access to land due to the price increases, commodity prices going down, the price of inputs keep going up, but the paychecks don't. One of the things that Farm Bureau, and I know most people consider it just the insurance agency, but the Federation is an advocate in the not only state legislature, but also the federal one, to ensure that when we do come across challenges, that policies can be advocated for legislation. And one of the biggest ones that helps a lot of the farmers are conservation programs, allowing them to be more efficient and more effective in their growing practices, in their raising practices, to help them become more efficient and effective, and it really does affect their bottom line. So we try to help with that as much as possible.
That's wonderful. So kind of going off of from Culpeper, if we're looking at the agriculture industry as a whole, what challenges are the agricultural industry facing that could have ripple effects on other businesses and consumers? We'll start with Ms. Gugino and then move down.
So they always say that the agricultural dollar travels through the local economy multiple times. So we're buying fertilizer locally, we're buying our vet supplies locally, and the dollars that we make go into the food we buy and the clothes we buy all locally. It's also a huge employer for the local residents. So agriculture also offsets a lot of needs of services. Agricultural properties don't require as many services as residential or commercial properties as far as the local government is concerned. So as agriculture increases, usually economic needs within the community decrease on the part of services, but still that dollar travels through the economy multiple times. So as agriculture leaves an area, you ultimately see service prices go up. And so that's one of the things that is great to have agriculture, to nurture agriculture, because it ultimately drives your tax rates lower and allows for less traffic, so less needs for roads, and it's a big ripple effect. And we definitely at Farm Bureau support farmers and local governments in ensuring that they are having farm-friendly practices to help them preserve properties that are in farming, to ensure that these economies that rely on agriculture stay strong.
All right, Ms. Ramsey.
Part of what I do is real estate lending, and 9 times out of 10 people call in and say they're ready to purchase property because they like the rural aspect of Culpeper County, and they like the feel. And so as we continue to see farmland broken up, I think that it becomes increasingly evident that some of that rural feel continues to go away. And so I think that becomes a challenge. The land acquisition for farmers to continue is so important. But we're also seeing things broken up, and it's harder for them to get that, and then we lose that small hometown feel that we have.
Mr. Stafford.
I think the challenge for our community is to think about keeping a net revenue business in place, farming, so they give more than they take. And so when you lose one, Brian, they who's going to pay the bill that they were paying? And it means you lose a farm, you're going to have a tax increase. Not literally, but in math calculation, it's going to turn into a tax increase because somebody's got to pay that bill, and it's got to be spread across those that are left. And So we want retention of the net revenue businesses might be an important thing to think about. How do we keep them? Attracting new ones in is fine, but keeping the ones we've got too, it might be easier to keep one. And so, and that challenge of the next generation, they're not all waiting to do what dad or mom did, but there's potential there. And I think there's a challenge to understanding those folks that don't look like them. And so somebody that's not dependent on that business, that they've started a small cattle operation, for example. Maybe it's not their only source of income. So the appreciation I have for those folks is that they are probably good for business. They're going to go to the co-op and buy what they need. They're going to go to the tractor place and buy what they need. They're going to employ people, buy land, pay taxes. And in the long run, they're probably not as good a negotiator, Kenny, as the farmers are, who don't have two nickels to rub together when they're at the negotiation table. They just want that tractor, they want that input, and they're going to go get it. And so that might help ag businesses with their profit margin. I'm not sure, but that's a thought.
And Mr. Unger.
Really, the speakers here can't add a whole lot. I would say, if I understood the question correctly, that age of our farmer too is a big concern and challenge to us right now, because like it's been mentioned, you talk and there's not many generations of today that want to take over the operation. And as Becky said, I grew up near Winchester, which Freddy County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state. And yes, these farms are broken up into smaller tracts, and yes, they come in, but they're wanting that rural lifestyle, but not totally appreciative of some of the practices of poultry litter and other things that's done. So I think it's a big challenge, as we've all said, to keep the revenue and the farming in the community.
Absolutely. So everybody's kind of touched on the fact of rising costs being an issue and keeping farms in the community. So what financial resources or loan programs would be available to support farmers in agribusiness? We'll start with Ms. Ramsey.
I can take that one. Of course, Farm Credit exists, and we were founded in 1916 by the government to help keep farmers in business. So Farm Credit has been around for a long time and is across the nation. Specifically here in Culpeper, we work really hard to help farmers have the operating funds that they need to stay in business. Through operating lines of credit, we finance all of their small projects and large projects, as well as real estate purchases. So we work really hard to structure loans in a way that meets their income as well. So if they are selling calves in the fall, we're going to schedule their payments so that it meets their needs, and try to meet them where they're at and what they need to get them to keep them in business. We also work really closely with FSA quite often. And FSA has specific loan programs available, and a lot of times I say go talk to FSA first, max out what you can with them, and then come back to Farm Credit, and we'll be willing to help you out with the rest. And that partnership really comes into play with specific industries like poultry. We don't have any dairy left in Culpeper now, but larger operations like that partnership is very important.
Mr. Stafford.
I'd say that I'd remark that when Susan and Rocky came to town, they began to visit around and get information and where can we go for this or that. And so we talked about the availability of funding from Farm Service Agency and whether or not you acquired that, you knew about it, maybe checked into it. So the government's involved, but there's rules and there's restrictions. I would say that where there's a will, there's a way. So if you've got a good business, the banker's going to loan to you. If you don't have a good business trip, you're not going to get a loan. And so that's a good check and balance. And sometimes they get money and it was on not a very good loan the last time, and they get another one, and it to me, it dooms the farm to being taken out of the family eventually. So it should be based on economics to borrow money.
Mr. Unger.
Sure. As far as CFC goes, we have some territory sales guys who are out, and we offer up, the advice on to working with Farm Credit, FSA. John Deere Financial has some financing available for some inputs and things. There's some NRCS money sometimes that's available. Also, as a co-op, we have a special financing on a few pieces of equipment that we offer for our producers, and then we offer rent. So on some items that might be too big of an investment, like seed drills, fertilizer buggies, and some other equipment.
Thank you. And Ms. Eugenia.
Yes, the financial side of farming is definitely extravagant. Most people don't realize that our equipment costs more than pretty much any house in Culpeper, depending on how big your infrastructure is. But Farm Bureau works diligently and tirelessly to advocate for the programs that support the FSA loans, DEQ loans, any of the different loan programs that are offered by the state and federal government to ensure that these low interest or even no interest loans can be obtained so that these farmers, that either young farmers starting out or taking over, or the ones that are getting closer to sunsetting their operations, that they have those abilities to get that loan and those finances so that they can continue their business or grow.
Wonderful. And as we can see, there's many opportunities for farmers, or many resources available to farmers in the Culpeper community. With that being said, what opportunities do you see for growth and innovation in Culpeper's agricultural industry? We'll go ahead and start with Mr. Stafford.
I think the production that we don't eat is the future. I know we've got to eat, Frank, but we don't feed ourselves from local production entirely. We ship it in. I used the example one time, how many truckloads of potatoes do we eat in a day? I don't know, but I bet it's more tons than you can imagine. We don't grow those potatoes. So the business model and the bottom line driven approach, there's more money in cut flowers than there is in growing tomatoes. And you fill your belly up with tomatoes, but the flower part, and the Europeans look at this and think about it. They figure they're feeding the human with flowers in the house or in the business. And it's not easy for everybody to be doing it too. So horticulture is a dominant source of farm income in this community already, and it's going to do nothing but grow, I think. They can afford that expensive land. So take the Amish community. When they get done dividing the farm 3 or 4 times a day, they don't have any land left for the extensive use of the land, the crops and the livestock. But down on the corner, they could put Junior in a greenhouse. And they sure enough are doing it in the valley and other places. So they tend to go towards producing food, and that's what they know and appreciate. And they build their family's economy on putting up and preserving food. So horticulture, I think.
Mr. Unger?
Again, what Carl was mentioning, I think if we would look at possibly some local processors that could come into the area that could help give some extra value to our products, both small and large producers could benefit from that. This gets additional income to Culpeper through jobs, taxes, and like he said, gives us a sustainable food supply. And we're not causing a negative impact on schools, roads, and those things of the community.
Ms. Eugenia.
Growth and innovation within farming is more of a subtraction than an addition. We're doing a lot more with a lot less resources, a lot less land, and you see that very evident in your concentrated agriculture, your indoor agriculture. In Richmond, I think it's Richmond area, they're building a building that's supposed to have indoor strawberries, and we already have multiple in Culpeper that do lettuces and herbs and things like that. So as far as the food production on the plant side, you're going to see a lot more investment and innovation in that scaled agriculture, basically growing vertically instead of horizontally. With livestock and meat production, you're seeing a lot less inputs, allowing for a lot more gain due to breeding, due to different practices that are being put forth, and that is only increasing in need with the pretty much lack of land to be able to have all those animals on. So I see us continuing that trend going forward, that we will continue to be pressed to do a lot more with a lot less, and you will definitely see a difference in how agriculture is conducted because of that. And a lot of people don't like the confined feeding or different practices that allow for that mass production, but to maintain our low food prices, those are the necessary steps when land is taken away. So those are going to be the challenges going forward.
All right, and then Ms. Ramsey.
I kind of alluded to direct marketing earlier. I think that because we can't create more land and farms likely cannot continue to get bigger, farmers are finding themselves having to diversify. And I think historically or stereotypically, farmers aren't great at telling their stories and they aren't great at getting out there and marketing themselves. But I think that there's a lot of opportunity there because we're so close to Northern Virginia and such a huge population of folks that have the funds to spend a little bit more and to be able to buy products directly from the farm. I think that there's a pretty big opportunity there for folks to take advantage of.
Thank you all so much. And our final question for the panelists: how does the agriculture industry influence the overall business climate in Culpeper? And what partnerships or opportunities exist between farmers and other local businesses? We'll start with Mr. Unger.
It's huge. I mean, in every job in agriculture supports 1.6 jobs in other industries. So, if you think about it, just today, we use ag products in a lot of things on a daily basis. The food we ate, the clothes you wore, the fuel you got here with, medicines, a bunch of stuff. So without agriculture, other businesses will not be able to succeed or will not be able to strengthen. So the local community is very dependent upon agriculture. I think I wrote this down, Thomas Jefferson said, agriculture is our wisest pursuit because in the end it will contribute most to real wealth, good morals, and happiness. So I think that kind of sums it all up right there.
Ms. Gugino.
There are a lot of partnerships within our local businesses and the agriculture community. You see a lot of local products. I know I see posts all the time, hey, where can I buy local honey? And Winona, I'll give you a plug for Choose Culpeper Farms. A lot of people go there to find those local products. I'm sure some of those local producers have worked with our restaurants and our retail to sell their products, pop-up stores. And then, of course, we have our farmers market, and I've seen probably at least 2 other farmers markets pop up since the main one downtown that are open and available when the downtown one isn't operating. So there is a lot of, I guess, crossing between the locals buying local from the farm, but also the farm integrating within our local retailers and commercial businesses to bolster both businesses.
Ms. Ramsey?
I can only echo what Susan said. I think that there is a lot of opportunity just to make those local connections and to get creative with it and get out there and learn about your local farmer and what they have going on. And I think there will always be opportunities to kind of jump in and learn about each other and figure out ways to work together. So.
And Mr. Stafford.
I was raised in Extension by a bunch of farm management agents. There must have been a dozen of them around the state. There are 0 today. They don't have a constituency, they tell me, but it's the bottom line for the work I do. And so I think the induced effect of agriculture, induced effect. So what is that? The effect it has on the economy, the ripple effect, if you will. And so that's been addressed by several speakers. But look in communities with the highest taxes, the least amount of agriculture. So that's a simplistic description, but it's a warning to people that as you lose agriculture, you can expect taxes to go up because you lose those net revenue payers, and commercial and business as well to the rest of you. But the induced effect of agriculture is significant, and we want to keep them paying taxes and producing and employing people. And so their role too, besides the economics, is the community involvement. So they built this community, folks. They served on the banks, the co-op boards, the extension advisory committees, the Little League, you name it. Farmers have served on those groups, and so I think that's an unknown, underappreciated part of their role in the community.
I wanted to thank our panelists for coming and speaking with us today. It was really great, you sharing your knowledge with everybody here. So I want to thank you all. All right.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you to all of our panelists. Our next speaker is someone who plays a vital role in keeping our community safe. Sheriff Tim Chilton at Culpeper County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Chilton was elected as sheriff at the end of 2023. Just over a year into his tenure leading the 186-employee agency, Chilton has made many changes and improvements to the department. Just to name a few, he's introduced body-worn cameras for deputies, partnered with the town police on establishing a joint SWAT team, established a Star Cadet program for individuals with special needs, made significant upgrades to the Culpeper County Jail, and has taken over operational control of the E911 Center. With a deep commitment to public service, Sheriff Chilton leads efforts to protect and serve the residents of Culpeper County. Under his leadership, the Sheriff's Office works tirelessly to uphold law enforcement excellence, foster community partnerships, and ensure the safety and well-being of all who call Culpeper home. Today, he will share insights on public safety, highlighting the challenges, initiatives, and collaborative efforts that help maintain a secure and thriving community. Please join me in welcoming Tim Chilton.
With that intro, I think everybody can understand why I'm tired. So, the interesting part I think about what we're doing is this first year has been pretty trying for a lot of things. We've done so much in the first year that I think everybody can understand once we start going through some of these numbers of all the stuff that's going on. One of my friends always says when he starts out, his name's Rocky Holcomb. He's the sheriff of Virginia Beach. He said the first thing you do, or you never do, is never get a time limit on a Baptist minister and never give a sheriff a microphone. So you just screwed up on that one. So here we go. The annual report, we just did this annual report. We had a number of things that come up this year that we wanted to highlight, and this is kind of our ability to brag on what we did, but also show you all the stuff that's going on in the county and the town. We kind of encompass a little bit of both. Obviously, Nick's here from the town. How many people were here last year when Chris Settle was the speaker? Chris Settle was tearing me up because I was 5 minutes late, and I think Carl Stafford hit on that too because I walked in the door. But I was really hoping to get Settle back this morning, but he didn't show up. Yeah, I took it. I got beat up in the back for about 15 minutes by Settle. So anyway, they promised you a dynamic speaker, but that guy didn't show up, and here I am. So the mission statement, this is the thing we go on. We live by this statement. We live by everything we do when it comes to your mission statement. Every business has this, but one of the things that I brought in was changing the dynamics of operating the sheriff's office as a business, and it has to be done like that. That is one part that I believe was missing for many years, is if you don't operate it as a business, and this is my shameless plug for where's Sam? Sam McLaren over there, I would consider him my boss, even though everybody says the people are your boss, but Sam and the Board of Supervisors are definitely my boss when it comes to this. So we're in budget right now, so everything I'm talking about, make sure you talk to your Board of Supervisors and get me the money that I need to keep rolling. So 3 things that we did for core values this past year: transparency and the accountability and then the community unity. This was the 3 things that I ran on. This was a lot of things that I felt that were not necessarily missing all the way around, but this was something that I could stand on. And community unity for me was the biggest. We had such a diverse community now. You'll see some of the numbers here in a second on what we believe the actual population is, but it's hard to say anymore. The census is not right, as we all know. I mean, the board can tell you that. Everybody in this room can tell you our census is a joke. It says we have about 58,000. I think we're probably closer to 70. And that's climbing every day, obviously. 65,000 is what we're estimating. We got 382 square miles that we serve, and we do that with, with a small army of people. This was when I was sworn in last year. I got sworn in by a friend of mine, which is obviously the circuit court judge, Dale Durr. That's most of our folks on the left. Since then, we've doubled that in size. So we started out, when I came in the door, it was almost 90 people. We're about 168. I think she said 186, but we're 168 right now. For the first time in about 12 years, 14 years, we are absolutely full staff. And that's unheard of in policing. Right now, you can say that the sheriff's office is full staff, the police department is full staff, and you can go around the rest of the state and nobody has that. So that's huge for our area. This is kind of how we break down. We have 7 captains over different divisions, and each one of those divisions is pretty powerful division because each one of them has a different budget. And when all those budget comes together, I can't remember our total budget, Sam. What are we, 31 million or so, right around that? Or, yeah. As long as it goes up this year, we're good. 31, I think, is what it is, but it's a huge budget. It's split into different groups. The judicial branch, we've got the law enforcement branch, and then of course we have the administrative services. But we also added the 4th one was the dispatch center. So when we took over the dispatch center, that changed a ton of dynamics of how things work within the county and town. Shows kind of what we're at right now, 123 and sworn deputies, 104 of those are full-time, 19 are part-time. Our part-time numbers are up to 26 right now, I think. And that helps us immensely because most of those guys are retired from different agencies. They come in, they want to do that 29 to 30 hours a week, but we don't have to pay them benefits. So it's huge that we get these people to come in. Some of the crime things that we changed up specifically were the DUI enforcement, the drug distribution stuff, fighting those and combating the frauds and scams. But the 911 center, the data management systems and the field technologies, all those things were big, but the biggest thing we brought in was body-worn cameras. Body-worn cameras we had in within about 3 or 4 months of us taking the office. And if you don't know what the benefits is with body-worn cameras, it changes the dynamics of how the public interacts with the police, but it also changes the dynamics of how the police interact with the public. It puts that accountability piece on there 100%. So patrol division, that's our biggest division. That and the jail staff are pretty close in size, but that's most of our jail guys, our patrol guys. We have added another dog since then. We've just added another black lab puppy that's a single purpose dog. So she's pretty wild. She's only about 16 weeks right now, but she's in puppy school, so she's doing her thing, trying to figure it out. If you see the bloodhound there, we added that last year, and she actually gets certified and will start being able to track people this week. So Friday is her day. She'll get her testing. So it's pretty cool if you follow our social media. And I tell everybody, just kind of another shameless plug, the best 3 hires that I did was we had to get an accountant. We 100% were behind the 8 ball on money. We didn't know what we had, what we were going to have, what we were going to have in the future. And the second thing was the lady that runs our jail. She was 38 years at Prince William County. She retired. I begged her, pleaded her, please come help me fix this. And she came in, and now she won't leave. So she's doing great, and she's killing it. But the third person is, where's Cody at? Stand up, Cody. Cody is our social media guy, and if you guys follow our social media, he's the guy that rebranded this office. We can give him a million ideas, but he takes those ideas and he makes it into what it is today. So if you can give him a round of applause for what he did. Yeah, all the crazy stuff that's on social media, it might be my idea, but he makes it look good. So, I throw out a lot of crazy stuff, but he makes it look so it doesn't look as crazy. Some of these things are recognitions for the DUI stuff. If you see those total arrests, it's kind of a very low number. We took some of the things out of there that the total arrest means these are self-initiated things. It's not necessarily just warrant services. If we have warrant services from different agencies, we didn't put those in there because it wasn't our arrest necessarily when we come in. Drug arrests are going up. We've, and I don't want to make this into like, the sky's falling or anything like that, but we do have a ton of drug stuff. We have a lot of fentanyl here. It goes up every year, but it's continuing to progress, and we're progressing with our enforcement. So like I said, if you watch our social media, we've been putting some of the bigger arrests on there and showing you what we're actually doing with it. The traffic unit, we just put that in place. Some of that is due to, just like Carl was just talking about, or Mr. Unger, the farmers. We put the traffic unit in place to help the farming community get in and out. We put them in place to do all of our traffic complaints. I probably get more calls for traffic complaints than anything right now. and people are calling every day. They send me messages on social media. They call my phone. They call the office. Please put somebody out here to stop the speeding, to stop the passing on double solid, whatever the case is. But of course, as soon as you do that, you get the next 25 calls, and I can't believe I got a ticket from you. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, you know. So our detective division, this is also growing like crazy. One of the things that I saw across the country that makes this work so well is we added every one of our detectives to a federal task force. And what that does, it brings federal money into the office. And it helps us with equipment, it helps us with salary, overtime, everything you can think of, it puts it in there. So all of these little acronyms here are federal task forces. One of our biggest that's rolling right now is the USPS, and the United States Postal Service task force guy. He just came back from San Diego. He was out there for about 10 days, and I think they seized a little bit over $500,000. So that comes back to us. We get a piece of that, so it helps us with equipment. But the amount of drugs that's coming through our postal service is insane. I could show you all the pictures that they found in boxes out there being shipped in and out. Some of it was coming to Culpeper. But the stuff that they were finding is absolutely wild. Blue Ridge Narcotics and Gang Task Force, that was where I was for many, many years, that in the DEA. So I was, most of my career, 16 years of it anyway, this is my 29th year, but 16 years of it, I was attached to different task force groups. So that's kind of my bread and butter, which is all drugs and gang. And so I can speak that language, and I know when they're doing what they're supposed to be doing because I did it. And so that's kind of how I play it. This is just some of the stats here. I won't necessarily read all those, but this gives you an idea of what these guys are doing. Again, if you've seen some of the social media, I don't like necessarily blasting people or showing people who's getting arrested and all that stuff. But when they're doing stuff to kids, I'm going to light you up. I'm going to put you on the front page. So, and that's the sad part about it, is we have a lot of those cases going on. The one girl we have assigned to the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, she's carrying 50 cases right now in Culpeper. So it's a terrible number, but that's how many people we have doing weird things with internet stuff. So she's closed a lot of those, and this is some of her numbers here in the last. But even other counties are coming in here. We're getting folks from other counties that are starting cases in their county, and they're ending up here, which is sad. Extraditions. So I don't know if you guys know Betty Hall. Betty Hall does all of our extraditions. We have to bring folks back from other states to answer the charges that they have here. So we have folks that go out, we fly out to different parts of the country, they pick them up. I mean, even, you know, you get people battling over the ones that have to go to Hawaii or go to California and all that stuff, but, you know, they want to do those, but they don't want to go to West Virginia where they have to drive 4 hours, you know, that kind of thing. But this is how many we brought back in the last year. One of the big things we added to kind of our repertoire stuff was a polygraph service. Joe Curtis attended a 13-week polygraph school up in Pennsylvania, and that has proved itself worth its weight in gold already. He's doing all of our polygraphs in-house for new hires, but he's also doing criminal cases, and he's been able to solve. A lot of times with polygraphs, you solve cases before you even turn the machine on, because they know you're going to see their reactions when the machine comes on. So in their pre-interview, he's been able to solve a bunch of cases prior to even being hooked up. So it's pretty neat. Property and evidence. This was one thing I did right out the gate as soon as I came in January. I was scared to death that all of our evidence was going to be messed up. I didn't know what we were coming into. So I had state police come in and did a full audit, and the 2 girls that do our evidence were 100%. Every single piece of evidence was there, and you can see that's 8,171 items were inspected. The state police guys that did the audit put their hands on every single piece. So we had at 100% on that inspection. The evidence tech did the same thing. The girl, if you don't know how our evidence is done, if a guy stops somebody and he has drugs in the car, they come in, they package it, it goes to a one-way locker. The one-way locker is picked up by the evidence tech. The evidence tech takes it to the lab. These guys never see it again before court. So that gives you that evidence chain, and she's the one that does all of those things. It's one girl that does all that action. It's a lot of stuff that goes on. And concealed weapons permits. Culpeper is Culpeper. Everybody has guns, you know, and that's it is what it is. I mean, it's still rural, but we all hunt and we all do all that stuff, but everybody's got a pistol, so don't mess around in Culpeper. Everybody's got guns. But that shows you what the detectives are working on the backgrounds for the concealed carry permits. It's a lot that goes through here. It's a lot that goes through the court system, and it does take a lot of time. We have one part-time guy that works he does about 15 hours a week, nothing but those. So it's a lot. This is communications. So the revamping the communications was kind of I guess it was a twofold thing between Sam's office and John Eggerston that just retired, and our office. There were some problems with it. There were some things that I knew I could fix. They asked me if I could take it. I did, and we were able to fix it. I put Captain Jason Deal, put him over there. He was a former dispatcher many years ago, but he had the knowledge to help fix what was wrong. And he was able to put together a team out there. And when we took it over, they were 14 short. Now we're full staff in dispatch too. So we have hired folks from all over the state. And that's what's pretty nice, I guess you could say, about what we're doing. We have so many people putting in from other agencies. It ticks off the other sheriffs and the chiefs, but we're getting their folks, and we're getting really good people that are already trained, and they already have a lot of stuff on the ball. And that's what we were able to do with this, is bring in some really talented people that were already doing this job in different agencies. And it's running like a clock right now. It's really doing well. This is their calls for service. So I guess what I wanted to talk about was the amount of calls for service that were coming in has gone up 16.8%. And that encompasses us, the PD, and the fire and EMS. So that's how many things have changed in 1 year. So it's 16% difference, and that is a ton of calls that's answered through the dispatch center. But that is all based on growth. When you base it all on growth, you have all the houses coming in. If you just look at one subdivision, and I hate to throw this out there, but on Stonehaven up at 211, that right there is going to be 1,500 houses when it's all done right through there. We're going to have a little small substation there that the guys that are building the shopping centers have given us, and we're going to have to keep 2 people up there all the time because it's just that many calls that's going to come in from that side. So it does change. When growth comes in, it changes services. It changes fire and EMS. It changes what the sheriff's office does, what the police department does, and it has consequences. We have 2 different sides of the table. People want to grow. Some don't want to grow. Some want to grow. But it does change what we have to do. So that changes our budget as well. And that's when I have to beg and plead from the Board of Supervisors. So this is some of the things that Jason's been able to add. This is tons of stuff. We've saved two entities in the sheriff's office so far has saved a little bit over, probably about $2.2 million. The dispatch center is one of them. I think he's in the $450,000, $500,000 range that he's been able to save by revamping systems, updating them, putting new people in, putting new systems in that cost less but do better. So he's one of the ones that's really doing that. He also does fleet. So this kid, I'd say kid because he used to ride with me when he was an Explorer, which kind of dates me, but it's insane. So he does fleet, he does IT, and he does our dispatch center. So he's wearing 3 different hats in the agency, and he's killing it on all three fronts. We were able to, when we came in, we had 34 cars that were over 220,000. This first year, we were able to get 22 of them out of here. We were able to buy that. A lot of the money that we saved in the jail system is what we used for buying all these cars. And here recently, we just were able to get, the board were able to give us a little bit more money that we saved last year that we didn't use, and we encumbered it for this year, and we bought 9 more. So we're up to, I think, 21 new cars out of that 32 that we needed, so we're really close to getting that finished. And now we're on where we're changing them every year. So if they go above 200,000 and they're just band-aided together, we're getting them out of there. School resource. This is one of the things that I had talked to the school system. Nobody's in here, Dr. Brads, or nobody's in here, but talking to the school system when I first came in was making sure that every single school had a school resource officer. So I know Ms. Hutchins in the back. Oh yes, that's right. A couple of the ladies from the school board are back there, and but we were fighting to make sure we had every school covered. And we're trying to get them as much experience as we can, which has proved to be a little bit trying. We just lost 2 to Northern Virginia. We lost Melvin White's going to Fairfax, and Chris Williams went to Loudon. We can't compete with that money. It is what it is. We've got our money up, and Sam and the board has fought like crazy to get our money up, and myself, but we just can't do what Northern Virginia can give them. You know, so if they decide they want to leave here and they go to Northern Virginia and drive an hour and a half, help yourself. I don't know why anybody would do it. I couldn't do it. There's no way. But these couple folks have decided to do that, so we're putting a little younger crew in some of our schools, but we'll get them the experience that they need to make sure that they're covering these schools correctly. Some of the things that they did in the school stuff this past year, you can read that. But just a lot of stuff going on in every division that we have. This is probably the best thing that I was able to get going. I worked at Stafford Sheriff's Office many, many years ago, 29 years ago, and we had a Star Force Cadets, and it was the only one in the state, and it was for kids with intellectual and physical challenges. So I was able to do that here. It was the first thing that I implemented as soon as we came in the door, because I had talked to a bunch of parents that wanted to do this, and this was probably one of our biggest successes from last year. We've got 12 kids in there right now. We have 30 on the waiting list, so we can't do them all because we don't have enough deputies that can commit to it every night. We try to have a deputy per every 2 or 3 kids, and that's where it started. These kids are amazing. We have kids with Down syndrome. We have kids in wheelchairs. We have anything you can think of. Kids with autism that's really high functioning, but they are in this program, and they're completely an inclusive program. Everything that the regular cadets do, these kids do, which if you get a chance to come to an event where these kids are at, you'll have a new outlook on life. Things that you think are problems are no longer problems when you see what these kids do. Special operations and canines, so there's our dogs. If you see Copper there on the bottom, she's kind of a internet star right now because she was our baby that started up last year. And then, of course, the new one, I think the new one's name is going to be Luna. They're calling her Lazy Luna because she likes to lay down a lot. So, but she's going to be, we haven't decided if she's going to be a drug dog or if she's going to be an electronics dog. Crazy thing about electronics dogs, we're doing so many of the ICAC cases that the dogs are trained on the smell of the glue that's inside of the computers and the phones. So, of course, all of that stuff stores the bad images that we want to find for the court cases. So we're trying to figure out which way we're going to do it. But Bryant does all these events. So every person in the room here that calls us and wants us to bring out a couple deputies or come bring out the tents and all the stuff we give away, this is how many we did last year. It was about 300 total that we were able to go to, and it says 235, but that's not counting the basketball, football, and all that stuff too. This is how many times our dogs were used last year and the stuff that they were able to recover. And professional standards. Bill Hutchinson's a retiree from Manassas City. He came in, he's doing his 4 days a week, and then he works another day for Amazon. He probably makes more at Amazon than he makes with us, so on the one day that he's there. But this is all the stuff that he did. He's been working his tail off for getting us our accreditation back and doing all of the overhaul and all of our policy. We were able to bring in Power DMS, which is just a system that makes it so much easier for all the deputies and everybody in the agency to watch and see all of our policies as they grow. So he's done a ton of stuff. Very few IAs within the agency this year, and part of that is because of body cameras. Most everybody's IAs have gone down once they implement body cameras because the frivolous complaints just don't happen anymore because they know it's on camera. I've talked to Jason a number of times with NAACP. We've had some complaints, and by the time we view the cameras and he views the cameras or anybody else, those complaints are no longer there. We've had folks come in from the school systems. I can't believe your deputy talked to my kid this way. They look at the body camera and they walk out going, my kid's gonna get their tail beat. This is the other best hire of the year, Mandy Lambert. She's amazing. She has probably saved the county about $1.8 million in renegotiating contracts. We used that $1.8 million to fix all the problems that we came into. We had computers that were bad. We had cars that were bad. Everything you can think of that we were able to use, we didn't have to beg the board for money because she saved it. So she's just a wealth of knowledge. She goes around the country teaching how to fix jails. She's with us about 3 or 4 days a week, but the rest of the time she's teaching sometimes in other countries. She's been able to get countries off of consent decrees where jails have been on consent decrees for 40 years. She's that kind of person. She's that knowledgeable. So she is her legacy piece for us, and Sam and I have begged her for the jail system that we have to have here. We're operating on jail that's about 30 years behind times. So we've got a couple things in the works, but again, it's going to take money. So talk to your board of supervisors. We carry about right now about 75-ish in our little jail, but we also have about 200 farmed out to different areas, and it costs a pile of money. It's $50 a day to have them in a different area. So we have to deal with the transportation, the overtime, the cars, everything to get them back and forth to those things. Some of these things here, these are what they've brought in. So that's how many meals they've served. We have 2 full-time cooks that are in there. People don't really think about all the meals and everything that goes along with it and all the nursing services. Last year, our overtime went through the roof because we had mental health went through the roof. Mental health is on the rise. The system is kind of wacky with certain things, but we have so many people in the hospital from jail that are having mental health episodes or in the interim of getting transferred to a mental health facility. So we have to sit with them. Sometimes we're in the hospital for 3 or 4 days. That's why our overtime takes the beating that it does. Some of the other things, this is how many classes they've done. We started classes back in the jail system. So the jail system gets, all of these folks are able to get through some of this coaching and peer recovery type stuff, which has been nice. We had a small area in the jail that was for female inmates only, and we got rid of it. It was old. It was the last part of the jail. It was actually from the Civil War. So you actually opened that with a lever and a big wheel to get the doors open. And there were so many females in there, they were laying on the floor. I said, absolutely not. We're not going to do it. We're going to find them somewhere to go. It's inhumane. It's disgusting. And we got them into CBRJ. So we hold no females in our little jail here in town. Court division, same thing. These guys do tons of stuff. If you go into the courts, these are the ones that are dealing with all the court stuff every day and inside the courtrooms. But another thing, you just don't think about how many people go through that building. There's 50,000 people that come in that building where they're scanned, on the regular. Now, a lot of that stuff, the attorneys don't get scanned, cops don't get scanned, so there's probably double that actually comes in the building. But this is how many papers they're serving. We have 1 full-time and 3 part-time guys. They're all retired that serve the civil papers. If you know about Sheriff Peters that was here for 31 years, his son still serves papers. He's probably one of our oldest guys that still serves papers. He probably serves 50, 60 a day, and he knows the county like the back of his hand. So we still get a lot out of those things. Evictions, that was on the rise this past year, and we can say whatever you want, but it's all economy. And folks can't pay for their bills, and folks kick them out. We can't do anything about it. That's one of the bad parts about sheriff's business. You have to do the evictions too. Some of the awards and recognitions the last couple of years, or the last year, that is, Dana Dotson was given one. She is our ICAC lady. She does tons, all the internet stuff with the kids and the sexual assault stuff. Rick McKinley and Makeley there, they were involved in a pretty hot incident. This guy was ramming them. He was doing a lot of stuff. They were able to put some less lethal stuff through the window, put some gas in the window with him, and able to get him out without having to hurt him. One thing that we implemented right after we came in, and Nick was with me for this first month, we have 4 less lethal options on every single call. We have a gas gun, we have a pepper ball gun, we have a taser, and we have a beanbag shotgun. So anything we can do to not have to use lethal force against somebody, we have 4 options every time. Jonathan Jenkins. Jonathan Jenkins just graduated basic law enforcement school. He was one of our jail officers, and he was in charge of the inmate workforce. And the amount of money that him and the 3 or 4 inmate workforce guys saved this county is astronomical, because they were doing all this renovation and all the things that we did inside of our office to make it more efficient. He was doing it, and his guys were doing it. So we recognized him, not because of law enforcement services, but for the services to the county and how much money that he was able to save. So it was a different award. You usually have all these heroic actions and all that stuff, but we saw him as such a plus to the county that we recognized him for that. And Finkel there, he was a DUI guy last year. He's I don't know what it is. Every car gets in front of him is drunk, and he pulls them. So he's just a magnet. So right when I said we're tired, that's why. I had 11 days off last year. And I still made most of the events, probably 99% of the events, worked all the carnivals. still found time to hunt with my kids and work on the farm. So, good. Any questions?
As we move into our final presentation of the program, we're excited to showcase a panel focused on one of Culpeper's greatest strengths, our commitment to supporting businesses and entrepreneurs. Culpeper is truly a business-friendly community with a wealth of resources available to help small businesses start, grow, and thrive. Whether through mentorship, funding opportunities, workforce development, or strategic initiatives, our local organizations work tirelessly to foster a strong and vibrant economy. Today, our panelists will share key insights on programs, resources, and initiatives that are shaping our local business landscape. Each of these organizations plays a critical role in ensuring that Culpeper remains a place where businesses can flourish. I'd like to invite our panelists to come forward and take a seat at the table as I introduce our panel moderator, Ginny Kunz-Delader. Ginny has served our community as a trusted certified financial advisor for over a decade and has been at Freedom Street at Stewart Partners since 2020. Clients know Ginny for her attentiveness, professionalism, and broad industry experience. Ginny graduated from Virginia Tech in 2010 with a Bachelor of Science degree in Financial Planning and Services. She's a proud wife and mother of 2 boys living in Culpeper County on a small farm. She's passionate about our community and has served in various leadership roles for the Culpeper Chamber of Commerce, Culpeper Businesswomen, Services to Abused Families, Playdate, a children's museum, and Grants Committee for Powell Wellness Foundation. She was honored as Culpeper's Young Professional of the Year in 2016 and earned the Culpeper Chamber's Chairman Award for Outstanding Service to the Chamber in both 2018 and 2019. So please join me in welcoming Ginny and our business resource panel.
So I'm going to introduce our panelists today for the small business resources that our county has. We truly want to grow our small businesses. A lot of people that I work with are small business owners, as well as those that have ideas of the businesses they can create. So this is going to be a great panel. I'd like to introduce Rosie Beachy. Rosie Beachy is Assistant Director of the Central Virginia Small Business Development Center and General Business Advisor for Culpeper County. In addition to owning and operating her own small business, Rosie has 30 years of corporate sales, customer service, market research, and marketing experience, plus 5 years of successful nonprofit development and fundraising experience. Rosie has been with the SBDC for 2.5 years, covers 7 counties in Central Virginia, and enjoys helping businesses of all sizes and stages take their business to the next level. Tori Buell. Tori Buell is a dynamic business development professional in Culpeper, Virginia, dedicated to boosting small businesses and expanding the town's tourism sector. As the business development and program manager for the town of Culpeper, she leads efforts to support local entrepreneurs, drive economic growth, and promote tourism initiatives. With a BS in chemistry from Virginia Tech, go Hokies, Tori combines her hands-on industry experience in the beverage world with the strong analytical skills to create innovative strategies that help businesses succeed. Jason Ford. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Jason Ford serves as the one-stop center manager for Rappahannock Goodwill Industries Virginia CareerWorks. With a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Mary Washington, he began his career in workforce development, supporting community members develop themselves to improve their competitiveness in job marketplace. In his current role, he primarily works with businesses to support their workforce needs and connect with them with pipelines of trained talent. Outside of work, Jason is an involved community member, serving on a multitude of boards, including the Chamber's Young Professional Advisory Council, Career Partners, Inc., chair of the UMW Black Affinity Group, and currently serves as the vice president of the NAACP's Culpeper branch. And we have Winona Pritz. Winona is the business development manager for Culpeper County Economic Development. A graduate of the University of Virginia's McIntire School of Commerce, she leads initiatives that support local businesses, including the Be a Culpeper Local program and the award-winning Choose Culpeper Farms program. Winona is deeply involved in the community and serving on the Career Partners and Culpeper Chamber Young Professionals boards. She volunteers with local workforce and business initiatives as well. Her work has been recognized at the International Economic Development Council's annual conference for its impact on small businesses and the local economy. So thank you, panelists, for being here today. I've got a main question, but I've added a little bit of follow-up. So the first question, and they go kind of hand in hand. What are some common challenges you see small businesses facing in Culpeper today? And if you could, follow up with resources or support that you think are underutilized by our local businesses in the area. Winona, let's start with you.
Yeah, sure. So as some of you may not be aware, being a small business owner is really hard. There are a lot of things that you have to do. You have to wear a lot of hats. You're expected to be extremely knowledgeable in a lot of different areas, and that can be really tough. And finding information and resources on those things can be really hard. So one of the things that we really focus on is that we want to make sure that we're helping you be successful. We want you to succeed in every way that you can. One of the things that's actually underutilized is some of the events and resources that our department puts on. So one of the things that we have is a free monthly small business workshop series called Facts and Snacks that we launched in July of last year. With this series, each month we focus on a different small business topic that we've heard from our community they need assistance with. So that can be anything from ranging with marketing, finances, where to go for funding, SWAM certification, and we take feedback from our small businesses to provide them with those resources. Another thing that we offer is in May, our Culpeper County Conference, and that is again, free small business summit. What's really special about this summit is that it's a working day for our small businesses. So they can come in, attend our workshops, they work through things that are specific to their businesses, and they walk out with plans. They walk out with things that they can implement today, tomorrow with their small businesses. And so we're always looking for ways that we can make a big impact on our businesses through resources and through learning opportunities.
Great. Jason, same question. Some common challenges that you see for our small businesses in Culpeper, and then do you have any resources or other support that you think is underutilized for our small business community?
Thank you so much for the question, Jenny. From my perspective on workforce, some of the challenges that I see in the small businesses that I engage with is access to talent, access to qualified applicants, folks who are prepared and ready for the job that they have applied for. I've spoken, met with many businesses who all have an experience of they have somebody who applies, they come to the interview, they seem like they're interested, and then they ghost them. They don't hear anything from them for weeks. They don't know if the person is considering their job or another job, and it kind of goes radio silence. So that has been one of the biggest issues that I've seen facing businesses, and also one of the resources that we try to help solve through our organization. Some of the solutions that I can mention for that is getting engaged with some of your workforce and educational partners that do exist in Culpeper and the surrounding region. Get involved with your CTE departments, with the folks who help transition some of the students who are learning the same trade that you work for in your business, helping give those students an opportunity to get into the business, give those adults who might be retraining an opportunity to get into the business, whether it be through an internship, an apprenticeship, or some type of opportunity for a work-based learning experience or job shadow. Those are the key ways that you try to help build a pipeline to your business to be one of those premier companies that in the community are known as an opportunity or an incubator for folks who are trying to get into an industry. It's very helpful, and it does create that perspective of openness and willingness to help train and create the next generation of folks in your industry.
That's great. Tori, same question. What challenges do you see facing our small business community in Culpeper?
Yeah, absolutely. From the tourism sector, in economic development sector, there are 890 business licenses active as of January 1st of this year. So one of the things that we see in our department is getting noticed. So, in a town like Culpeper, word of mouth is huge, but you have to get yourself out there and put yourself out there in a way that you can to be noticed by not just our visitors, but by everyone in our town as well as the local economy, but also our tourism economy. So we like to just say, as we like to hit on marketing a lot in our department. So be active on social media, team up with other businesses, and connect with us. We have multiple different tourism efforts through Visit Culpeper every single year. And we consistently get grant money to support those, which means that we can then feed that back into our community. So tap into us if you're looking to learn more about marketing, if you're looking to join one of our videos, which we love getting volunteers for our tourism videos. And then also one of the things that we offer through our department is Culpeper Competes. It's an entrepreneurship series. It's a resource. It ends with business investment grants up to $30,000 for startups. We also work pretty heavily with the RRRC and the Piedmont Loan Fund, which is a loan fund that has been put on by funding by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It's up to $50,000 for not just businesses that have been around for 6 months plus, is by the way the guarantee, but businesses that startups can get into that too if you participate in a program like Culpeper Competes or the CIC Entrepreneurship Series.
Wow, that's great. Rosie.
Good morning. Our office is, we've got 5 full-time advisors that work with about 900 clients a year, many here in Culpeper as well. We are, the main things that we see come in that people are very curious about is access to capital, marketing, and then navigating taxes and compliance. So when we meet with people, we generally do a holistic view or a total review of their business to see if there are other issues as well that can help address the things that they're concerned about. For example, often they'll ask if there are any grants available or where can they get a loan, and some of those issues can be addressed through marketing and sales tactics. So that's typically what we're seeing.
Great. So I know a couple of you tapped into answers to this, but how can small businesses better navigate the complexities of securing funding or financial support? Are there specific grants, loans, or programs that you all run or have access to assist in that effort that these small businesses or startups are going through? So, Jason, we'll start with you first this time.
Yeah, so Tori had actually mentioned it. One of the organizations that we've worked well with is Community Investment Collaborative out of Charlottesville. They are best known for being kind of an entrepreneurial incubator. They have both workshops and funding for folks who might be looking to start their own business or expand their business. I think it's about a 16-week course that you go through. It's really a full-length crash course of everything that you need to be and considerate for starting a business or for expanding it. Also in Charlottesville, there is an organization called the Fountain Fund. They're a little bit different. They primarily help folks who might be coming out of incarceration. They get access to low-interest loans, help build their credit, and give themselves some form of financial stability. But in conversations with some partners down there, they are looking to get into the entrepreneurial loan field as well. So just providing some, again, low-interest loans for folks who want to kick their business off. So that's another opportunity. And then lastly, there is going to be another round of an initiative coming down from Virginia Works called the Hired Apprenticeship Program. It's a program that offered up to $4,000 for up to 2 apprentices at your business. The first round of funding just concluded on the 17th, I believe, and they're looking to allocate funds at the beginning of April. But I spoke with someone in the industry. She said that they are looking to do another round in the next fiscal year. So again, if you're looking to build a pipeline of employees, you're looking to find access to funding to help support that, the Hired Apprenticeship Program could be a good opportunity, hopefully in the start of July.
Great. Tori.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, one of the big programs that we bring to the town, it's Culpeper Competes. And I want to hammer on it just as much as I possibly can because our 2025 cohort is happening this year. This program actually started as a COVID relief fund in 2021. It went to fund businesses like Culpeper Cheese to reopen after they closed. It gave Graze to Griddle their brick and mortar, the funds to open up their brick and mortar on Davis Street, which is now just the staple in the middle of Davis. In the past, in 2023, it went to fund those beautiful terracotta floors in 7 on Davis. It also went to fund and give some tangible items for 101 Latino Multi-Service, because I see Franz over there, who went on to win Small Business of the Year for the Chamber. Entrepreneur of the Year, which is even better. So we are, this program goes to bring back and grow the economy in Culpeper. It's meant to be for Culpeper. It's the, we like to call the smaller version. It's only 8 weeks. It's not the 16 weeks. So if you feel like you don't have 16 weeks to do the big boy course, it's for 8 weeks. You get to hang out with Rosie and I, so it's even better. But this program really is meant to go to encourage entrepreneurs to build people's dreams. I think that's the best part about all of us on this panel is our jobs get to go to build the dreams in Culpeper. And I think that's one of my favorite things that I get to do on a daily basis. Beyond that, our department loves to write grants. If you know Paige Reed, she loves to write grants. So we write a lot of Virginia tourism grants. We are our destination marketing organization, so our DMO. So as that relates to getting agricultural grants, your AFID grants through VDAX or anything like that, our department is here to support you through that or apply on your behalf in order to build what we need to build in terms of infrastructure for our small businesses, for our agricultural businesses, for our large manufacturers. And if you don't want to work with us, which is okay, there's also the Virginia Small Business Foundation. They have a lot of grant opportunities for entrepreneurs in the area.
Thank you. Rosie, any other specific grants or loan programs financing that you help with? And just in addition to that, how can a small business improve their chances of securing that type of funding?
Right, thank you. The first place I would refer people is to our web page on the Central Virginia SBDC website. We have 2 pages. One is specifically on grants, and the other one is agricultural funding. So there's private organizations that do funding that way as well. I would recommend anyone who wants to go for a grant or a loan to meet with an SBDC advisor. We have a specialist on our team. We've got Brian Thomas, who is a former banker, who can make sure that all your financials are ready to go to a bank if banking is the funding avenue that you choose.
Great. And Winona, same question. How can these small businesses navigate the complexities of funding, and how can local government streamline that process and help them through that?
Yeah, so I think everybody here on the panel did a good job of touching on what funding is available. I do highly, highly recommend anybody who's facing wanting to go try to apply for loans or is just needing business assistance in general to get to that point, to please reach out to your SBDC advisors. They are free. They have experts. Even if there's a topic that Rosie can't assist you with, the SBDC team has experts in so many different categories to just help ensure that your business is as strong as possible. Although we, as a department, the county government does not offer any specific loans or anything like that. We do have a monthly newsletter that we encourage businesses to sign up for, that we share other information. So anything that SBDC has going on, we are always sharing and making sure that we're promoting Culpeper Competes and things that tourism is having. If you are in the downtown footprint and you are a business that can utilize Culpeper Renaissance Inc., they have facade grants and other programs available. So I just encourage you to look out, contact people, and even if who you initially contact doesn't have a program, I'm sure they'd be happy to help you and point you in the right direction as well.
Those are some great resources. Thank you for sharing that. Next question is, what trends and opportunities do we see shaping the future of business development in Culpeper, especially for our small, mid-sized, and startups? Tori, let's start with you.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we love to hammer on is Culpeper is growing. You hear that across the board. You've heard that from almost everyone that has spoken today, Andrew, and everyone. And it is, we see in our numbers, which, by the way, they put a numbers person on this panel. I like to sit behind the computer and read numbers, so you're going to get numbers from me. We've seen a 13% increase year over year of visitors coming to Culpeper, which means that tourism is essentially booming in our town. So as that relates to it, it's really tapping into that. Culpeper's history, food scene, if you come into our visitor center, they'll ask you what your zip code is and why you're visiting. We keep that, we have 10 years of data as relates to it. And in those 10 years of data, consistently, the number 2 reason why people come to Culpeper is for downtown shopping and dining. So tapping into that whole element will give you a one step up. I like to say that people like to Google first, visit second. So making sure your social media is active, your websites are, up to date, make sure your hours are active. That's a huge thing. And then also right now, more than ever, people are looking to shop small. People are looking to support small businesses. People are looking to support women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses. They're looking to come into a town like Culpeper and support your green roofs, support those individual businesses that are giving them that more authentic, genuine experience than, say, a big box store. So tapping into that can give you that step up. And, like I said, make sure when people Google you, they find you first. So make sure everything's active.
Thank you. Rosie.
Since the pandemic, we've seen a huge increase in the number of people that want to start their own businesses. We continue to see that, so we are not expecting that to let up at all. One of the new things on the horizon that everyone's heard about is AI, and we encourage small businesses to utilize AI to develop efficiencies within their business. Cody is going to be doing a talk through the chamber in April regarding using AI in your business. We're going to be doing a lot of training through the SBDC. So that's one thing that I would encourage people to keep in mind, is that AI can be used as a tool to help you create a lot of efficiency and work smarter in your business. Another thing, I agree with Tori, buy local. But sometimes people forget the online aspect of their business. They really need an online presence today for people to find them and to drive business into the stores. And then an opportunity that I wanted to highlight was working with your economic development departments. Winona and Tori and Brian and Paige are great. They can help pave the way for new businesses or business growth. I think only second to the SBDC, they're probably the best kept secret in the business world. And so utilizing the resources that you do have in Culpeper, I call on 8 counties, and Culpeper is the most welcoming small business atmosphere. Don't tell my other counties that I said that, but really there's so much support for small businesses here, just reaching out and making sure that you utilize the chamber and all the different resources that are available. I hope you didn't record that.
Redact that. Winona, we focused a lot on, startup businesses or people that wanting to get into business, along with those trends and opportunities, established small businesses. We kind of need this data too. You bring a lot of good data to the table, so does the tourism department. So can you share a little bit more about those trends and opportunities that, even an established small business could use?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we're seeing is marketing's changing. How you're connecting with your customers is changing, and you've got to be able to evolve, and you've got to be able to find new ways to reach them. So one of the things that we recommend is looking for and capitalizing on unique, non-traditional marketing opportunities. One of the things that we have is our Be a Culpeper Local Week, which is a week-long celebration of Culpeper businesses in August of every year. For that event, we provide free marketing opportunities for businesses. We encourage shopping locally, and we have a lot of fun incentives to drive traffic to those participating businesses, giveaways, and things like that. Last year's event, we spoke to our businesses following the event, and the businesses that participated in that event saw over $40,000 of transactions in 1 week. So utilize, different types of marketing, different types of things that you can jump on board that are already happening and going on. Another thing is try to find ways to tell your story. Try to find ways to connect with your audience and connect with your customers. We also have, if you are not taking advantage of it, a free small business spotlight. So every month we spotlight a different small business. We tell your story, what you want to hear or what you want to share, why you love being a small business owner, why you love Culpeper, what drove you to open your small business or why you love doing what you're doing. So try to take advantage of opportunities like that to connect, and hopefully your story will resonate with your customer base and open some new doors.
I love that. Thank you. Jason, trends and opportunities you see shaping the future of Culpeper small business?
Yeah, so I also agree with what everyone has shared on the panel. I do think small business, supporting small businesses and potentially starting small businesses as an entrepreneur is going to be critical, both for the success of our community, but just even long-term vision-wise. I know it was mentioned on the agricultural panel, some of the stability in the market and the purview for 2025 might be a concern for some businesses moving ahead. Understanding that now might be an opportunity to consider how can you invest in that pipeline for helping support folks who are learning a trade, getting into an industry. I had mentioned supporting some of the CTE students. That includes both adults on community college side as well, figuring out how do you be that premier business that folks want to support. And that's on a business facing side. On the individual and on kind of the workforce front, I just reported at a meeting this week, we've seen a pretty large increase in cost of living here in our area, in Culpeper in particular. For a single individual living in the community, the average cost of living has went up about $6 an hour compared to where it was in January of 2024. So just seeing a lot of things happening within the community, understanding as folks try to navigate and make a life for themselves in the community, what does that look like and how does it affect small businesses, trying to plan out revenue, trying to plan out expenses. All of it is kind of mixed in on both ends. So yeah, trends, things are a little bit shaky, but opportunity is, it might be the time to invest in your workforce, invest in the people that make your company unique, make them special, and potentially build a pipeline for folks to come in after them.
Thank you. And we're going to wrap up with one last question. Rosie, what is one piece of advice you would give to an entrepreneur just starting out today?
I recommend that they spend time working on their business, not just in their business.
Thank you. Winona, same question.
You're not alone. There are people who want to support you. There are people that want to help you. Please, please, please reach out. There are so many resources that are available. You don't know what you don't know, but we do want to help support you, and so please, please, please reach out.
Great. Jason?
Kind of got two ways, more or less pieces of advice. Is one, be unique and be involved. I think all of the resources around different methods of marketing, different methods of advertising your business, whether it's a product or service, are imperative in a market that seems I don't want to say flooded, but it seems there's a lot of opportunities across the board for different options. So definitely being unique, but I think being involved is also imperative as well. There's something unique about this community of Culpeper, where you see business leaders, you see teachers, you see nurses, you see all of the different industries showing up for students, showing up for organizations, showing up for each other. And I think that is one way to make sure that your business is included in the conversation of, if you recommend, a roofer or someone who's doing HVAC, it's usually the person who's also at the events that you're showing up to. So I think those would be two good advices for any small business starting out here.
Great. And Tori, we'll wrap up with you.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Get out there and meet people. Join the chamber. I wasn't paid to say that, so just join the chamber. But really, though, don't be afraid to introduce yourself. There's a whole knowledge worth of people just sitting in this room alone, not just on the panel, but everyone here. So be sure to introduce yourself if you're going to events. Get involved. Tap into tourism. The thing is it's our job to bring people here. It's our job to make Culpeper a destination. That doesn't mean that you can't make your business a destination as well. So when people come and visit, then you're going to be on their must-visit list. So we'll bring people here. You just got to get them through the door. And then last but not least, as technology changes, be sure to learn with it before you adopt it. Make sure you understand it. Make sure you understand AI. Make sure you understand customer service management systems, the CRMs. Make sure you understand them before you implement them. Know who you're trying to market to, who you're trying to bring into your door. If you're trying to get the 25 to 35-year-olds, don't just rely completely on ChatGPT. They'll see right through your hashtags and they'll see right through your emojis. So really make sure that you understand this growing technology. And if you really do have any questions, always feel free to reach out. I love people sending me emails and asking me things about social media. It's my favorite thing in the world. So anyone that's willing to sit in a room with myself or Rosie or anyone on this panel, I think be happy to chat your ear off for a little bit. So please reach out and utilize your resources. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't cost you anything but your time.
Thank you. These are 4 great people in our community that we can all tap into If you know someone wanting to start a business, if you yourself have a small business, please reach out to these 4 wonderful panelists and all that they bring to the table. I want to thank the Chamber for such a wonderful event today. We always love the state of the community, and I will invite Amy back up for closing remarks.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you to all the panelists. As we bring this event to a close, I want to take a moment to express our deepest appreciation to our presenters, to our panelists, and to our moderators. Your time, energy, and expertise, and your dedication to this community are really what make gatherings like this so valuable. To our presenters and our panelists, thank you for sharing your knowledge and your perspectives. Your thoughtful contributions have provided us with a deeper understanding of the challenges and the opportunities ahead for Culpeper. To our moderators, thank you very much. We're so grateful for your guidance in leading these meaningful conversations. And to each of you in the audience, thank you for your time, participation, and commitment to Culpeper. As we leave here today, let's take the lessons we've learned and the ideas we've shared and the connections we've made and continue working together to build a stronger and more prosperous Culpeper community. Thank you guys for making this event a success. Safe travels, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.